Vinny was just talking trash in the chat to these kids who literally had no idea what they were doing, and Vinny was ruthless. But that is who he is, and we love that.
I've seen Vinny go to a park one time, push down like an 8-year-old and spit on him.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I am your host, Nick Schreck, and joining me tonight is the one and the only, the Don. How we doing, buddy?
What's up, dude? How we feeling?
Good, man. We are officially on episode 275 of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. We've come a very, very long way, Don, and we're here to talk about Week 7. So I'm feeling great.
Glad to hear it, dude. I'm here. I'm surprised that you're not here with Vinny since he's just so good at fantasy football, man.
He's pretty much a fantasy god.
He's a fantasy god, dude. I mean, listen, I'm here to do the due diligence to let everybody know that he smoked my ass in fantasy last weekend, and he is just so good because he destroyed me when I put up 88 points. Congrats on your win, Vin. You should boast more about your sick blowout.
I don't sense any anger there in that statement at all.
I mean, I'm not angry. I mean, it is what it is. But someone's on their high horse for an 88 when they're playing someone that puts up 88 points. Good job, Vin.
He's getting his lineup all set for this week, so he couldn't join us on the preview. He's getting ready to smoke some more ass come Sunday.
Send the cigarette emoji.
Cigarette emoji for days, dude. You know, Vinny, and he knows it. He does not hold back. I'll never forget. We go back to the draft with some high schoolers, and Vinny was just talking trash in the chat to these kids who literally had no idea what they were doing, and Vinny was ruthless. But that is who he is, and we love that.
I've seen Vinny go to a park one time, push down like an 8-year-old and spit on him.
Jesus Christ. We do not condone that here at Let's Talk Fantasy Football, for the record. Vinny is being investigated for that one, but he'll be cleared of all charges. I have complete confidence. But before we get ourselves into some legal trouble, Don, let's move right along and get ready for the Week 7 preview. Guys, if you missed the Week 6 recap, I know the Thursday night game is already over at this point when you guys are tuning in, but a lot of good stuff in there. Stats, things to look at from performances last week that may transfer to Week 7. Vinny and Walsh crushed that as per usual. So click back an episode. Definitely tune into that. And as I referenced, guys, the Chiefs and the Broncos are playing right now while we're recording. So obviously you're going to know the outcome by the time this podcast is live for you guys Friday morning during the commute. Bye weeks this week, guys. Panthers, Browns, Steelers, and Buccaneers. So anybody that you have there, get them out of your lineups. You still have time to get everything squared away. Patrick Mahomes banged up for the Chiefs. Hopefully we'll know more tomorrow by the time you guys are tuning in. But, Don, let's kick it off with the first game on the slate. Willie, Packers versus the Raiders, 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to give the floor to you to start because this is your team. We're in Packers Kingdom here. Sure,
man. Big win, by the way, against Detroit.
Huge.
Our wins haven't been controversial between the Cowboys or Detroit Lions. I don't want to hear shit from anybody.
Never. No history there.
So that he definitely did hit Bakhtiari in the fucking face. You can all shut up. Yeah, dude, cool. I mean, are we doing like fantasy stuff? Or are we just going to talk about the game? Or we're a fantasy podcast, right?
We got to talk fantasy value. So let's start on the Packers side of the ball. All right, we'll start there. We usually flip flop, but since you're a Packers guy, we'll start here. Aaron Rodgers. It's been a while since I feel like we've really gotten he's been a letdown. Let's just call it what it is as a fantasy QB. For what everyone expected, there's been way more production elsewhere. I drafted him personally high for us. 7th round, give or take. I've been rolling Dak Prescott. Aaron Rodgers has just not been the Aaron Rodgers of old. I don't have the stat in front of me, but it was something like he hasn't thrown for more than 3 touchdowns in a game in like, I don't know, it was like 16 games or whatever. He's only done it twice or something stupid where like we expected Devontae Adams to be this monster with him. Obviously he's banged up. unlikely to play this week, despite feeling a million times better. He's not commenting on his status at this point. But Aaron Rodgers owners probably have better options and are looking at other options because you can't trust Aaron Rodgers. Is that fair?
It's fair. I think it's an interesting matchup because obviously Oakland has a better run defense than pass defense. But the problem comes to the receiving core of Green Bay. I mean, if you have watched this season and this past Monday was the epitome of what's going on, is not only is the talent really not there because these are young guys or whatever it may be, but like these dudes are not catching passes either. Like
Don, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, unfortunately, there's nobody in the receiving core that wide receiver, I'll say, that I want any part of, right? Adam's still banged up. We expect not to play. Allison's got the concussion, still in that protocol. I don't expect him to play. MVS, he's probably the best bet to get a deep ball or two, but you can't count on that. So I can't tell you to put him in your lineup with any confidence. And then you look at the week 6, pecking order. Camaro, I don't know how to say that name.
Kumaro, dude.
Sorry, dude. Kumaro, idiot.
No, the guy that, and I'm sure was hot on waivers. I mean, I went after him was Alan Lazard. Yeah, I think that if anyone is a bet, I mean, listen, it's a lot of dice you're rolling here because this is one big week out of him. So, and you didn't really know who he was unless you were a Packer fan.
Yeah. Well, and again, Lazard, he has the 5 targets, right? He only played 23% of the snap share. So MVS at 77%, Darius Shepard at 39%. So, it's essentially a big crystal ball here on what you think is going to happen. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not interested in touching any of them because I just don't know. And I hope Devontae Adams is back the following week.
So I like Lazard. I'm actually rolling him out only because I'm desperate. I have a lot of my leagues, for whatever reason, this is just a huge bye week for me in a lot of them.
Yep.
Here's the reason. And if you have a better option, definitely go with it. One, again, Oakland's run defense is much better, so we have to pass, and we do have Aaron Rodgers. Also, if you look down history, Aaron Rodgers is a very loyal quarterback to who he likes to throw to. It was originally Greg Jennings to Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb to now Devontae Adams. Look at what they did last year. Mm-hmm. Devontae's not there, right? He had a good year with the MVS last year, and he'll get the deep bet. But when no one else was doing anything last week, he just said, fuck it, I'm just going to throw to Lazard for the rest of the night, and look what happened. So I think that rapport, which was only off of one week sample, right? But I think that's who he's going to lean to again. Jimmy Graham has been nothing but disappointing and not reliable. Again, Gmo, who has not had a good season and really has looked not very good, is now out. On top of Devontae Adams is out. And MVS is a deep ball guy only. So I think Lazard you're probably going to see a higher target share to him and Kumaro.
Yeah.
I really like what Lazard did, and to see how much Rodgers ended up throwing to him at the end of the game. I think if I'm going to roll my dice and if there's any receiver, if I had to play, especially against that defense where it's not a terrible matchup for a pass threat,
yep,
I do like Lazard. Again, there are a lot of other options, but if you're in a position like I am with bye weeks and I couldn't find anybody else on the waiver wire at this point, I'm rolling them in my flex in our 3 receiver league.
That's fair.
My flex.
I mean, like we said at the beginning, I guess there are 4 teams on the bye. Plenty of big names in the mix there. People can't start. So you got to go to the waiver wire and find some options. I will say, Don, I don't think Jimmy Graham is the worst tight end roulette spin that you can do.
Not against Oakland.
No, Raiders' 7th worst defense and average receiving yards allowed per game to the tight end position. Obviously, he's been nothing but a fucking roller coaster. But if you want
historically, and Oakland's historically always been bad against tight end.
So not a bad dart throw if you have to take one. Not saying it's not. You could end up with the fat zero. But again, I would be okay if that's the direction you wanted to go. If you're an Aaron Jones owner, you're still playing Aaron Jones. That nothing has changed despite the fact that Jamal Williams comes back and does what Jamal Williams does.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jamal Williams is someone I'm starting.
Mm-mm.
Although that was, especially after that fumble with Aaron Jones, then you saw a lot of more Jamal Williams last week. But I would still say you still roll out Aaron Jones even unless you got like a really great crew running backs. I think Aaron Jones still has to be started even against their defense. And Jamal Williams is just – it's not enough to be starting him at all.
I am right there with you. Hey, do you have anything else on the Packers, Don?
No, man. I mean, I'm really not playing Aaron Rodgers unless I have to.
Yep.
I'd probably be actually hitting the waiver to see if there's just a better matchup.
Yeah.
Like I picked up Goff off the waiver in a league this week, even though Goff has been very underwhelming. It's against an Atlanta defense. So go that way. Or
quite a few nights. Josh Allen is on. I don't know if you still have a bunch of waivers.
And I wouldn't give up on Minshew either. Like I did bench him for Goff in this league, but I'm playing him in a bunch of other leagues. That was his first really bad week, even though New Orleans has been quarterback friendly for fantasy. It's still against a very good New Orleans team, and they're playing against Cincinnati this week. So I don't hate Gardner Minshew at all for this week.
Don't have a problem with that at all, Don. But let's talk Raiders side of the ball. Derek Carr, obviously no interest. Josh Jacobs, I think you're excited about the performance that you got before the bye, right? 123 yards and 2 touchdowns on 26 carries. Not that we expect that kind of production here, but the Packers defense has been exposed at times on the ground here against good running backs. So I think if you own Josh Jacobs, you can put him into your lineup. I think really like the wide receiver core. It's obviously Tyrell Williams and Hunter Renfrow.
Well, Tyrell Williams is not playing this week.
Is he officially out?
Well, yeah, he's got plantar fasciitis, and he did not practice today. He's not playing. Okay,
I knew he didn't practice. I didn't know if he was officially out.
I'm really positive that he's not playing.
Okay. I was gonna say I know he failed to return to practice. If he was healthy or gonna go, then I could roll the dice. But I'm not. I'm not rolling Hunter Renfrow. He hasn't surpassed 30 receiving yards in a game to this point. So it's Darren Waller. That's it. I know he was also limited. I still expect him to play. But he's averaging 8.4 targets per game. He's locked in as a matchup-proof tight end 1.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay's pretty good against the tight end, on top of as well as pass as well. I mean, it's just thankfully our pass defense is very good.
Yep.
I think our run defense is getting better, obviously. But in the meantime, this is still a very good matchup for Josh Jacobs. So if you're a Josh Jacobs owner, you definitely are playing him.
Yep.
And that's probably the only person I play at Oakland this week.
Okay.
Especially because it's in Lambeau too.
I get it. I just think if you're a Darren Waller owner, you probably don't have a better option. I'm not going to spin the wheel. I'd rather play Darren Waller. But that's just me. Let's pick it down. I'm going to take the Packers. Sweep it.
Yeah.
All right.
Sweep it.
I assume, but just want to confirm. On to the Rams versus the Falcons, Don. 1 p.m. Eastern start. Let's start on the Rams side of the ball. You just said you picked up Jared Goff. Do you expect a bounce back here after what could be called a catastrophic performance last week of under 100 passing yards for that offense?
I mean, I don't know if it's a bounce back. I think that you'd have to have the expectation that Goff is really not as good as the hype is to be right now, and he's not going to have like the season he had last year. But again, he still has a lot of weapons around him. He has Sean McVay in that offense and Todd Gurley, so that opens up a lot. And Falcons defense is bad. So
very bad.
This is a good week for Goff to have a good week and also gain some confidence back in himself.
Yep.
I don't think Goff upgrades to more than like a weekly waiver or plug and play.
Yep.
Not an every game starter just now, this is a good start to see where it's at. But Atlanta again, they're no bueno.
No, so, they are a bad Falcons team all the way around. Todd Gurley, we expect to play. Sean McVay said, I think he's on a good pace to hopefully be able to play on Sunday.
Yeah, I think he's playing.
So same thing. We'll have to wait and see officially on Malcolm Brown as well. But the expectation, I think, is that Gurley definitely goes. We'll see on Malcolm Brown. At the wide receivers, you got Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, who you did just trade away. But Cooper Kupp is incredible. He's going to continue to be incredible. Last week just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp is a stud, dude. Obviously, Goff's number one guy. This is definitely – I mean, he's been very good pretty much every week, even no matter what it is. But now against this Atlanta defense, you should be licking your chops towards it.
Are you starting Cooks and Woods with some kind of confidence here because of the matchup against a bad Atlanta defense? You know, because we have seen some letdown performances from these guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like Woods quite a bit because Woods is like a utility player too.
Yeah.
Like, and his target share is really not bad. I mean, he's only had 2 weeks where it was kind of low. Week 2, where he only had 2 targets, and last week with 4, which he didn't get any receptions. But the utility part comes in where he's getting a few rushes a game.
Yeah.
So one way or another, he's going to get the ball. It's against Atlanta, who's like the worst in the league almost in passing. So I think this would be the week that you definitely feel confident playing Woods. And he's been at least consistent enough to be a flex or wide receiver 3 at all times.
Yep.
And obviously has the ceiling to be a low-end wide receiver 1. So I'm going to play Woods. And Cooks, I mean, Cooks is such a boom and bust, man. I'm cool if you sit him. But if you don't have better options, this is the week to play Cooks.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a dream matchup with a bad Atlanta Falcons secondary and team as a whole. So I have no issue with that. Don, I also love Jared. I like Gerald Everett. He's seen at least 5 targets in 3 consecutive games at tight end. I think you can fire him up here if you're in need of a tight end.
So I really hope he doesn't because Kyle has him. Yeah, again, Atlanta's still not that great against tight ends. They're not as bad as just, pass in general against the receivers. But, yeah, with the way tight ends are, I think you have to roll him. I think he's a every week starter at this point.
Yep. You gotta roll him. It's a volume-based play against a bad Falcons secondary. Let's flip Falcons side of the ball, Don. Matt Ryan, garbage time king, does it again and continues to put up points for fantasy owners. Continue to play Matt Ryan. If you've been rolling with Matt Ryan, I mean it's working. You know, I know it's against the Rams. I get it. They just got Jalen Ramsey. But I think Matt Ryan's just going to continue to sling.
You can't sit him. Yeah,
he throws picks, but he throws touchdowns. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 picks. I mean, that's still a good day.
He's really bad, but he's really good.
Which kind of cancel each other out, which means he's fine.
Yeah, it's like a double negative. Roll him out.
Perfect. Receiving game, Don. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Mohamed Sanu. Julio Jones, I think, is gonna pretty much be tracked here by Jalen Ramsey. Obviously, the new addition here to the Rams.
Is he playing this week?
I would assume so. I haven't seen differently. But again, I have nothing concrete. But I would assume with the deal that they would try and get him in there.
Man, you gotta love Google, right? So I'm gonna pull this up right now since I have not checked that out before this podcast. I'm sorry we're giving you information and not ready for it.
But yeah, I would expect him to shadow Julio Jones. I mean, it's what defensive coordinator Wade Phillips had Peters do last season with Talib sidelined, which again here, Julio would just have a massive day, I think, because of his size and talent over the other two, Coleman and Hill. So I think it's a no-brainer here for Ramsey. If you're playing Julio, I think your expectations have to come way, way down.
Yeah, I mean, he's an every week start no matter what. I can't find this out either. Oop, actually, I lied. Yeah, Coach McVay intends for Ramsey to suit up week 7. Is this week 7?
Yeah, it is, man. Jesus. Yep. So I think he goes, which in turn I think means Ridley value comes up. I think he goes to a low-end wide receiver 2. I think that's more opportunity for him and Matt Ryan to hook up with the coverage on Julio and the focus there, particularly with Ramsey. Don't trust Mohamed Sanu at all, but maybe there's just no consistency there. But I think Ridley is a big boost with Jalen Ramsey on Julio.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then Hoop Daddy, at least 6 receptions in all but 1 game this season.
Yeah, you have to play him.
He's been incredible. He's in your lineup unquestionably. I did skip over the running backs, but Devontae Freeman, if he's been your guy, he's still your guy.
Yeah, you know what? I don't own any of Freeman this year. It's probably one of the players I haven't followed up with. I mean, he's just a mid-level back. I mean, how do you can't sit him. I mean, he's still like literally like a high-end running back 2.
I mean, look,
low-end running back 1. So you got to play him even against LA. I mean, obviously too, Clay Matthews is out, so that helps a little bit. And LA hasn't been that great against.
No, I mean, he had 19 attempts for 88 yards last week, 3 receptions for 30. And I mean, he had the 2 touchdowns, which obviously helped him tremendously. But, the last 3 weeks, 14, 15 and a half, and 25.3 points for me in another league. So, I mean,
I'm playing him.
He's a solid running back too. I mean, again, you don't probably have anyone that has any more upside, despite it being the Rams. So
sure,
it's Devontae Freeman all the way. Let's pick this game. I'm going to take the Rams.
Yeah, I think this is the bounce back for the Rams. It's obviously a nice matchup for them. So they've lost a few games already. They can't afford to lose another one. And they have Jalen Ramsey this week. So
I thought the Falcons could do it last week, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's not going to be against the Rams as far as I'm concerned. Sweep it on through. Don, 49ers versus the Redskins, 1 p.m. Eastern start. Jimmy G and the Niners are the real deal.
Yeah.
They've
and that defense.
No joke, man. It's a team that has exceeded expectations and really come out to play some ball. I think the biggest there's a lot of question marks I feel like on this team for the fact that they are such a good team, right? You got the Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida. I mean, you could call it a 3-way committee, but they're the kind of the 2 core here. Coleman had 18 of the 35 carries, 3 of 7 targets. I think he's going to see about equal volume this week, maybe some better production in this matchup. It's the Redskins. So Washington's given up the 3rd most fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. I think Coleman's a running back too, unquestionably.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good week for those that still held on to Tevin Coleman, that you're finally going to be able to play him with confidence. Obviously, that gives Matt Breida a little bit less of a role. But I do like Tevin Coleman against a really bad Redskins team. What I'm worried about, obviously, is, I mean, even though the 49ers are great, it's really that defense, man. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo has not been a fantasy viable quarterback.
No. They're getting enough done on offense where the defense can be the bulk, and then the offense can kind of supplement.
Literally, they're leaning on that good defense. And, I mean, there is no receiver that I think one that I would actually be intrigued to play would be Dante Pettis.
Yes.
For a big bye week like this.
Yep.
He's been picking up some more targets in the last few weeks, which is nice. So because he did come off an injury, right? He was like hurt, like right?
Yep. So I mean, I'm expecting Deebo Samuel not to go. He's got a groin injury, so if he doesn't go, Pettis is becoming more and more involved. The Redskins defense has allowed the 5th most PPR points per game to the wide receiver position this season. So from week 1 to 6 on, he's gone from 3% snap rate to 50, 42, 63, 72. So his involvement is growing, and I think this is a great matchup for him against a bad Redskins defense all the way around. So, yeah, I'm okay with Dante Pettis. If you need to plug and play and make something happen, he could be a good option for you.
Yeah, I agree. And then obviously, Marquise Goodwin, I don't even think we need to talk about him. He hasn't been I mean, the only other pass catcher is George Kittle, which obviously he's picked up the last 2 weeks the really slow start.
Yes.
But he's the best receiver there. And he's the guy to go for. So Redskins are mediocre against the tight end. This is their best target. Yep. San Francisco's good, and Redskins aren't. So this is a good week to play Kittle, and he's an every week starter anyway.
Yeah, I think, like you said, big week coming for Kittle. 8 of 8 last week for 103, no touchdowns. Redskins are 26th against the tight end position. So I think big things to come here for Kittle and possibly Dante Pettis. Would be nice to see as a whole. I think that's it, and we can flip it over to the Redskins side of the ball.
Skip the quarterbacks.
Yep, not interested.
I think it's talk about the running backs, right?
Yeah, I mean, Adrian Peterson, after having 25 touches for 136 yards, I think this is a terrible, terrible matchup against a great defense. They're 10-point underdogs. The 49ers have given up the fewest fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. It's going to be the opposite of last week for Adrian Peterson as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, for multiple reasons. One, that being the most important reason. Two, if you've seen in AP's, I guess you could say, declining years, even though he shows flashes of greatness, he's never really had like 2 consistent weeks in a row.
Yep.
The past few seasons, like he would have a very big blow up week, and then the second week would be like, that was pretty underwhelming. So it's kind of hard to judge AP, and you can only really play him against matchups, even though sometimes he would still suck during that. This is definitely not the week to go against like the best rush defense in the league. So you stay away from AP and Chris Thompson. The only one that kind of like still intrigues me is McLaurin. He's been a very good waiver ad early for those who were able to snag him.
Yep.
It's tough. I would still look elsewhere if you can, but I would still understand if you have to throw him in the lineup with a big bye week this week for a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, look, not ideal matchup, but again, you may not have another option. I mean, he's offering wide receiver 2 upside. He's the number 1 pass option.
Yeah.
He's shown it week in and week out. But I agree that's literally all there is on the Redskins.
Yeah. I mean, they got to throw too because they're just going to be down.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
it's volume, right?
Expect volume in a PPR league to maybe a decent floor, but just know that ceiling's not going to be high.
Correct. Not interested in the tight ends. Obviously, Jordan Reed permanently out. Davis coming back from a injury. We don't know if he's even going to be clear, but not interested anyway.
Revenge game is not enough.
No, it is not. Let's pick it, and I'm going to assume we're sweeping it down 49ers.
Yeah, we're starting these few with a sweep, which is sad. But.
It's sad, but unfortunately, it's just the way it is. I have a feeling after the break we might be able to change things up, Don. So let's take a quick break. We're going to come back and jump right back into the Texans versus the Colts.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, home of the brutally honest fantasy advice you've always needed.
All right, guys, and we are back. And, Don, let's jump right into it. Texans versus the Colts, 1 p.m. Eastern start. Let's start on the Texans side of the ball at the QB position. Deshaun Watson, you own him, you're starting him. I don't think we need fantasy analysis on Deshaun Watson, period. Great.
Next.
Moving on. Duke Johnson, Carlos Hyde. We watched Carlos Hyde get his revenge game here against the Kansas City Chiefs. I noted it internally to our league, but I want to put it out on the podcast. It is absolutely infuriating that he is still in a Chiefs uniform on NFL.com's player biopic of him. It's insulting. It's literally a slap in the face, and I think it was deliberately done after they beat the Chiefs last week. So I just want to say, NFL.com, I know you're listening. Shame on you. Shame on you. Don, what's your pick here? Duke Johnson, Carlos Hyde. Any thoughts on who you trust? Who's the guy here that you want going into this matchup versus the Colts?
Yeah, I obviously want Carlos Hyde. I mean, Colts are actually a very good rushing defense, but I think that Hyde has proven that he has just enough workload, which I'm kind of surprised about because someone I stayed away from this year. Yeah. But again, I mean, he's literally right at the RB2 mark with a very good floor. His ceiling hasn't been sexy other than really last week. He had a good game against Atlanta. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, he's had more flex numbers, but I mean, the attempts are there. And he's had quite a few touchdowns too. So again, all he needs to do is get in the end zone, and they're still going to hand the ball off to him quite a bit of times. So there hasn't been a game yet that he's been under double-digit attempts. So just for that sake, I would say Carlos Hyde would be the way I'm going for sure.
Yep, I am with you for sure. Don, let's go wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins, frustrating own this year. He's failed
not
to find
first year. Not the first year. Every time I've owned him.
It's not the first time. But failed to find the end zone or reach 100 receiving yards in 5 consecutive games. It's his longest such streak since the 2016 campaign. I think he I don't have the exact stat, but I was reading it on Roto World. I stand corrected. They were talking about how his average depth of target is under 10 yards per target, which is remarkable for the kind of player that he is. So this could set up as a good opportunity for him as a bounce back. The Colts' zone-heavy defense is designed specifically for these underneath looks, so he may get some more opportunity here with this matchup. If you own him, you're playing him. You're just hoping he finds some pay dirt to start paying off for essentially what that first-round pick was. Will Fuller drops 3 TDs last week. Tougher matchup here, but we all know he doesn't need a ton to go off. And he's
unfortunately, like Fuller's obviously I think he's really only had one good week, but it was just so monstrous. It shows that he has a higher rating than what he is. I think Will Fuller's he's very boomer bust, but I just don't think there's enough in me, especially if you're in a 3-receiver league or a deeper league where you can sit him at this point still. I think you still have to roll him out there. Yeah.
Again, it depends on your matchups and everything else, but you've always known what you've gotten with him, right? He is who we thought he was. Will Fuller is no doubt boomer bust, right? But he dropped the 3 TDs last week. The opportunity is there. Again, the defensive matchup with the Colts plays more to what DeAndre Hopkins has done so far this year for the underneath ball, but Fuller can do it and get behind the defense. It's just a matter of hanging on to the ball. So I have no problem with playing him.
And his target share really is good. Other than week 1 with 3 targets, I mean, it's week 2, 7, week 3, 7, week 4, 6, week 5, 16, and then last week, still 9 targets.
Numbers don't lie. The volume is there. It's just a matter of him holding on to the ball. Really is what we saw last week, right? If he could hold on to the ball, it's a whole new fucking ball game.
For sure.
So Will Fuller, the target today. Let's see if you can do it. Kiki, I have zero interest in at all.
Yeah, you could pass on Kiki right now.
Keep it moving. What about the tight end, Don? Darren Fells, Jordan Akins. They've played over 65% of the Texans snaps over the past 2 weeks. They're playing against the league's 7th worst defense in receptions allowed per game to the tight end position. Any interest or too low of a floor?
Yeah, I mean, if you have to play the wheel this week, Darren Fells is not a bad ad. The only thing that concerns me is he's very inconsistent on target share. Last week he did have a nice target share against Kansas City, who is very bad against the tight end as well. Yes, so that might just be encouraging to you. But again, just know that you can either end up, with about 12 to 15 points, or you could leave with about 2 points.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, we're through four games here, or 3.5, and we've already got 3 possible tight end streamers for people. So not the worst week if you're in a tight end spot. Whether you lost Will Dissly, you've got to buy, you were rolling Vance McDonald, whatever your options may have been. So there are some options out there for sure. Just weigh what your waiver wire looks like. That's really what it comes down to. Play the wire. Don, let's talk Colts side of the ball. Jacoby Brissett, any interest as a streamer in this matchup, or are we moving forward?
I mean, I've had to stream Jacoby Brissett a few times. I don't know if this is the week, though. I mean, like I said, there is – although Houston defense, man, I mean, yeah, I'm cool with rolling Brissett. I mean, Brissett's really only had one bad fantasy week against Kansas City. But, I mean, other than that, he's been a very serviceable quarterback. I'm okay with it, dude. I mean, if there's – I think I would still roll out Gardner over him right now, or even Goff. But I'm very cool with – I would say Goff, Gardner, and then I would say Jacoby Brissett. If any of those guys are available, Brissett's not a bad person to roll out there.
All right, running back, Don, Marlon Mack. They get the bye week. He gets time to get that ankle healthy. And he didn't look unhealthy in that win over the Chiefs. He goes 29 rushes for 132 yards, and he's averaging 4.7 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns through 5 games. You're pumped to have him back after the bye. He's in your lineup here against the Texans, undoubtedly.
1,000%.
Don, TY Hilton, death taxes, and TY Hilton destroying the Texans. Those are the 3 sure things in life. T.Y. Hilton has consistently done it against the Texans, and I expect them to do it again here. The Texans starting cornerbacks, Jonathan Joseph and Bradley Roby, are far from 100%. I look at some of T.Y. Hilton's kind of just production against the Texans, and, he's been in the last 3 years, 4 for 115, 0 scores, 9 for 199 and 0, 5 for 85 and 0. His history as a whole has been pretty good against them. Lots of targets and touchdowns. I expect a big week from T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, roll him out.
Other wide receivers, I have absolutely zero interest. I don't think there's anybody you can trust. And I think that goes for the tight end position. You have no idea who you want, and both of them have fewer than 5 targets in 4 or 5 games this year.
Yeah, dude, you gotta stay with Ebron and Doyle. I don't know. It's just not the same with not having luck there with that Ebron magic last year. So
yeah, we love Ebron, friend of the podcast, but unfortunately, they're not good options, and we've already thrown out a couple tight end streamer options for you guys that you got to consider. And I think that's it, Don. Let's pick this game. I'm gonna take the Texans.
I'm gonna split it. I'm gonna go Colts.
Okay, boom. Here we go. I was close to doing that as well. Vikings versus the Lions, 1 p.m. Eastern. Big game here for the division. Let's start on the Vikings side of the ball. I think as a whole, Don, I mean, Kirk Cousins, obviously, I'm just not interested in, right? Through first 4 weeks, averaged 11.3 fantasy points per game. I think this is a huge Dalvin Cook week. I think they put it on the ground, and they let Dalvin do his fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to back up with Kirk Cousins real quick on that. I mean, Kirk Cousins has come back, though.
I know.
And Detroit's very bad against the pass. So, I won't say very bad. They're just not very good. It's not terrible, dude. He's had 2 very good weeks, actually, Kirk. And
I feel like I just would never have confidence putting him in my lineup. I'm not saying he couldn't.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Kirk playing. I think this is a divisional game. Detroit lost a game that obviously they're pissed that they lost.
Yeah.
And Detroit's good, dude. Like this whole division is good. I think that just like on Monday, like they're just going to punch you in the mouth, and Minnesota's going to have to do the same thing. I think Kirk's really not a bad play either.
Okay. We're gonna agree to disagree. I don't think I could put him in there with confidence.
Wow. Did you just see that? I'm sorry. We're watching the Kansas City game here, and Tyreek Hill just had a nice play.
My man. Tyreek, baby. Love it. All right, let's move on because we're not gonna say eye to eye on Kirk.
Okay, that's fair. So then what do you think? I mean, obviously we're playing Dalvin. I was going to say you definitely have to roll out Diggs and Thielen, and just the only person I don't care about is Rudolph. But
correct.
Do you have any difference in the receiving core?
No, I mean, I'm not. I think you still have to roll those 2 guys. I think
Diggs had I played against Diggs last week, and I got fucking smoked, dude.
Yep. No question about it. I think you have to roll Thielen and you have to roll Diggs. Stephon Diggs is going to get Darius Slay. They faced off 4 times so far since Diggs has entered the league in 2015. The target share has been there for him over the past couple seasons. It's just been a matter of whether he's found the end zone. He's 50-50 on that. So I don't expect a Diggs explosion like we saw last week. But I think it's going to be a Dalvin Cook game. I think that's where their points are going to come. They're going to feed him the ball. There'll be a little bit of the passing game. I just think it's more on the ground this week.
Sure.
So, but I agree. You're starting those 3 guys. There's no Kyle Rudolph involved, and it's as easy as a preview as that.
Sure.
Lions side of the ball, Don. Matthew Stafford. Like you said, Lions obviously coming out angry after what happened last week. What's wrong?
Mahomes dislocated his kneecap.
Wonderful. What wonderful news to get live on the podcast.
They're going to see if he tore any ligaments.
Oh my God. This I'm going to have to go off. I'm sorry, guys. We're shutting the podcast down. And you can send donations to the Patrick Mahomes Fund in our honor.
I would assume it's better than a ACL tear.
No, definitely.
You know what I mean? My God.
Definitely. So, there's no question about it.
Yikes!
I'm a little thrown. Matthew Stafford.
Not play
at all. Kerryon Johnson. 13 points last week. 14 against Kansas City. Not a great matchup against Minnesota, but
yeah, I think that obviously Minnesota's rush defense is obviously someone that's you really don't want to play too many running backs against. But I think that Johnson is probably one of your guys that like you kind of have to roll out week to week.
Yep.
Obviously not really a high ceiling, but a very, very solid floor every week. And I think you still have to roll him out.
I agree. Not an ideal matchup, but you're going to have to do what you have to do here, especially with the way buys and everything else have kind of fallen for you. Receiving core, Don, Marvin Jones is a low boomer bust wide receiver 3 option, if not wide receiver 4. If there's no trust there, it's the Kenny Golladay show.
Yes. He's
PPR wide receiver 19. He has responded with 100-plus yards and or a touchdown in 4 of 5 games. He's got at least 8 targets in every game. He's been unreal. Again, it's not the best matchup with the Vikings, but you're playing him.
He's probably Kerryon Johnson and Kenny Golladay are the guys that I'm rolling out there. The only question is, are you playing Hawkinson?
No. Nope, I'm not. I get the I don't know. I mean, because I'm looking at my stats here, right? And my gut tells me no. My immediate reaction to you when you ask that question is no. When I read the stats, it says, he's going up against the Vikings defense that is 1 of 4 units to allow at least 70 yards per game to the tight end position through.
Yeah, I mean, Hawkinson, I think that's a very – if he's on the waiver, I think he's one of those ads.
Yeah, I mean, I got to think people probably have held on to him, or I'd hope. I know a lot of people that spent a lot of waiver wire money on him in those budget, those bid leagues. Fewer than 5 targets in 3 of 5 games. But I guess the matchup does pay. Stats don't lie. My initial answer to you is wrong. I'm going to revert that and say, yeah, if you own him, he should be in your lineup.
Sure.
That hurts me to say, but yeah, I was wrong. Don, let's pick this game. I'm going with the Vikings.
I'm going to split it. I'm going to go Detroit.
All right, let's split it. And let's finish up with our last game of part 1 of the Week 7 preview, done with the Jaguars and the Bengals. 1 p.m. Eastern start. Let's start on the Jaguars side of the ball, jagging off. You've already talked about Gardner Minshew. They're playing a bad Bengals team. You still have confidence in him to roll him out there as a streaming QB.
Yeah. No, I think this is a week that you see a bounce back by Gardner Minshew, and it's a good week to not lose faith in him and continue to play him.
The Bengals have allowed 235-plus passing yards in 5 straight games. I expect that to continue. Minshew is going to bounce back from his 163 yards last week. Leonard Fournette also going to have himself a very nice day. I think it's going to be a lot of Jaguar here. Cincinnati has allowed the most fantasy points per game to opposing running backs, and by a wide margin. This is a dream of a matchup, I think, as they can get here for Fournette. I think he's the top 3 running back this week.
Yeah, this is the week to do it.
And I think, quite frankly, when you look at the wide receivers, it's the same thing. DJ Chark gets a injury-riddled secondary for the Bengals. And I think you can even roll out D.D. Westbrook. He's got at least 5 targets in every game this season.
Yeah, I think that Westbrook is one increasing, and obviously it is increasing in target share, and he's going to always have that floor. So I'm hoping because I need him to have a good week this week.
Yeah,
I'm feeling more confident about it. But versus Shark, he's going to be your higher ceiling guy. But I think you roll out both of those guys. No,
100%. I think you can have the confidence in DD there without question. The 5 targets is huge. Chris Conley, not there, but he's maybe a interesting dart throw if you want a cheap guy in DFS, but not season long for sure.
Yeah, I mean Conley's like that guy that may be in a deeper league, but I mean his target share is just not there. You see Conley on TV and all that, and watching the games, but just not enough to want to play.
He hasn't cleared 30 yards in a game since week 2. I just think against a bad Bengals secondary, you never know, right? There's always a chance. So that's what I'm saying. DFS, if you want a cheap dart throw and that's the way your lineup falls, I don't think it's the worst dart throw you can make at. I haven't looked at his price. I got to assume he's $3,000, $3,500. Uber cheap would be my guess. So only reason I'm interested there. But that's it for me on the Jaguar side. Don, you have anybody else?
No.
All right. Let's talk Bengals side of the ball, the red rifle. I think it's time for the Bengals to move on from the red rifle. But I don't think that's breaking news to anybody that's out there. Joe Mixon, one of the more frustrating guys to own in fantasy football, based on what you expected when you drafted him in the second round this year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So he really hasn't been bad, but he just hasn't been good enough to where you're like, that paid off. So he's like a RB3, man. Like, so like he's a flex play option, I get. Well, maybe, he's actually been a little bit more bad than I thought. So.
An interesting stat here, Don. This comes via Twitter. It says the Bengals have trailed on 76% of their offensive snaps this season, the second highest rate in the league behind the Dolphins, which is 89%. When trailing Cincinnati's running back snaps, Gio Bernard 51% of the snaps, Joe Mixon 47%. Yeah. So his volume, because of them always trailing, is not going the way that you need it to go for being a second round guy. I mean, you're looking at last week 8 attempts for 10 rushing yards. The week before 19 for 93. You're okay with that. 15 for 62 against the Steelers. Like it's been tough sledding. I get it's the Jaguars, but it's been tough sledding. So again, if you own them, it all depends on the other options, but not super pumped if that's how it's going to go. AJ Green, a couple limited practices. I don't think we see him yet. I think maybe after the Bengals week 9 bye.
Yeah, I don't think he's going.
No, I need some more time and not relevant at this point anyway. Tyler Boyd, had the big explosion, the disappointing performances here. I think you can continue to fire him up as a wide receiver too. And you have nothing to worry about. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey gone, which helps the scenario here, but Tyler Boyd is a go.
Yeah, that's fine. You can play him.
What about Auden Tate? What do you think? Because he's had 6 and 12 targets since entering the starting lineup in week 3. Do you think that continues against the Jaguars? Are you confident enough to put him as a plug and play here?
I'm definitely so I just picked him up this week in a league where, again, in a few of our leagues, I have kind of similar teams, and I am getting destroyed in buys.
Yep.
I picked him up, and I feel okay about it. I mean, he really, since week 3, has been very, very flex savvy performances. He's getting a lot, dude. Since week 3, 10 targets, 6 targets, 11 targets. I mean, and it's enough where it's doable. So yeah, I'm cool with playing Auden Tate.
Awesome.
Know that there's not much of a ceiling. It's more of a good floor.
Yeah, I mean the targets are there, so you hope that he reels in a few of those, and I mean the catches he made last week were pretty sweet. So you obviously hope that continues. But that's it on the offense. I'm not interested in Tyler Eifert at all. And I think that pretty much does it. You agree?
I agree.
Let's pick it. I'm gonna jag off with you.
Yeah, I'm jagging off.
Yeah, we gotta jag it off. Sweep it on through. So guys, that's gonna do it for part 1 of the week 7 preview. Don and I are gonna be back with part 2. That's dropping to you guys Saturday morning, early in the hours Eastern time. So get ready for that. Again, tune back into the Week 6 recap. Lots of good nuggets in there that can help you in your lineups, guys. It's not just about recapping nonsense. There's a lot of good stats and stuff in there. Questions, guys, for the week, start sending them in now. When you guys wait to send them in Sunday morning late, you run into the chance we're not going to get to them. We can't hit all of them, so the sooner you get them in, the better the chance that you're going to hear from us. So, Don, you have anything else for the people?
No, I've got nothing for you people.
Nothing for the people, guys. For the D.O.N, I am Nick Schreck. We're with Let's Talk Fantasy Football. We will catch you on the flip side.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.